From big blockbuster failures to stunts gone horribly wrong, here are the biggest Hollywood mistakes. Number 13. Roar. Trying to make a movie without all the crazy special effects back in the 1980s was a little bit difficult. So in order to get some cool footage back in those times, the movie producers had to get a little up close and personal in order to make this film as realistic as possible. The American Adventure movie didn't always use fake blood when filming. The movie is filmed with real actors who got attacked on screen, and it's not special effects. All of these crazy scenes of people getting bit by lions is real, and it has been deemed as the most dangerous film shoot in history. The staff consisted of 2 elephants, 110 lions, tigers, cheetahs, leopards, cougars, and jaguars. Oh my. It was all a big waste of time though, because it lost the producers $15 million, investing $17 million, but only getting back $2 million at the box office. Number 12. Get some earplugs. Actors and film producers might not always realize how realistic or loud some prop weapons can be, and just because they're props doesn't mean they're not dangerous, as we're about to see. During the film of Die Hard in 1988, Bruce Willis might have suffered partial hearing loss in one of his ears after he fired a blank round too close to his head. He reportedly lost 2/3 partial hearing from the incident, and that kind of thing doesn't heal up overnight. The injury lingers on, and he states that he hates having to get people to repeat things multiple times because he lost his hearing. Number 11. A rocky filming. Things don't always go smoothly on set, and unexpected things can happen. Sometimes actors might be willing to go above and beyond what's necessary in order to become a star. During the filming of the Rocky movie about boxing, Sylvester Stallone went that extra step for an epic shot. He told Captain Ivan Drago, or Dolph Lundgren, the Soviet infantry captain gold medal winner, to punch him in the face as hard as he could. This ended up meaning that Rocky had to go to the hospital. He was hit so hard that his pericardial sac became swollen and pressed up against his heart. In case you didn't know, that's a double-walled sac that contains the heart and the most important blood vessels. He stayed at the ICU for 9 days before he could return to work again. Luckily, the movie did well in the box office, and it's not like some we're about to mention. Number 10. Box office blunders. While we're on the topic of Rocky, let's go and take a look at one of Hollywood's biggest box office blunders, known as The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Based on the televised cartoon which was popular among millennials growing up, Rocky and Bullwinkle are a few of Hollywood's most famous animals, with Rocky being the squirrel and Bullwinkle being the moose. The total production cost $76 million, but only managed to muster up a measly $35 million. This basically meant $41 million was lost total. Jason Alexander and Rene Russo received nominations for supporting roles when you thought all wasn't lost, until they didn't get those awards either. Overall, it was a big blunder trying to bring this cartoon back to life. Number 9. Pluto Nash. Another box office blunder that made the world cringe was the film Pluto Nash, which starred Eddie Murphy as a lead role and was released in 2002. The plotline is rather outlandish in the year 2080 on a moon colony called Little America, where the protagonist gets involved in organized crime in outer space. Some of the jokes would be seen as crude or sexist by many critics, and not in a funny way. We don't want to spoil it for anyone who wants to go see this, but it was overwhelmingly disliked by just about everyone. The cost of the production was roughly $130 million, but only managed to get $7.1 million at the box office. It goes down in history of being at least in the top 25 worst movies of all time by the Golden Raspberry Awards. Number 8. Toxic metal makeup. Toxic metal makeup might sound like something worn by members of the Kiss band, but that's not what we're referring to. We all remember Wizard of Oz as being one of the all-time most memorable classic American films, but there's some dark secrets about the production that the public doesn't always hear about. This may ruin your childhood favorite movie. In order for the Tin Man to look as metallic as possible, his face was actually painted with a makeup which contained silver, and it led to a horrible allergy, causing lung failure and hospitalization for 2 weeks. He then got an eye infection from a different kind of makeup, causing another 4 days of delay. Luckily though, he made it out alive. Number 7. Crew from the Poltergeist. Imagine working on a movie about supernatural beings and cults, only to find out later on that many people around you who you worked on it with seem to have been plagued by tragic events. It certainly seems like a costly error to take the supernatural spirits lightly. Was Steven Spielberg's film the most cursed production of all time? One man, Oliver Robbins, was a child in the movie and claims that he quit the movie industry due to the tragedies that happened after making the cursed film. Both of the girls who played the sisters tragically lost their lives. One of them being Dominic Dunn, we see here, who was strangled by her boyfriend weeks after the film was released. Lou Perryman, who also acted in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, was killed by an axe in Austin, Texas. Others believe there's still something more mysterious to it than just that. It turned out to be a success in the box office with a budget of $10 million, getting back $121 million in return. But was it worth upsetting the spirits? Number 6. Jackie Chan cracks his skull. Doing all your own stunts is pretty cool, but eventually, you may just have to crack your own skull. When Jackie Chan is doing his moves, he definitely tries to put this in the back of his mind. During his earlier years while filming Armored God, he tried to film a scene of him jumping from a castle onto a nearby tree, where he fell and landed 25 feet headfirst onto a rock. A piece of his skull actually went into his brain, and a piece of it had to be removed. Jackie Chan is a tough man, and he has a catalog of injuries, as you can see from this chart in Chinese. He's even had his own teeth knocked out before during a film called The Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. Number 5. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. If you watch The Baron of Munchausen, you might think to yourself that it's not really a bad movie, but maybe it was made at the wrong time and they spent way too much money on it. The movie is about a baron from Austria who has ridiculous shenanigans while he's visiting the Ottoman Turks and elsewhere. It was originally written in the 1700s as a satire to war stories told by Russian veterans who fought in the campaigns against the Turks. Despite not getting the worst reviews by those who watched it, it absolutely tanked at the box office. Right away from the first scene of the movie, you'll notice that it looks a little bit lavish for something made in 1988. The Baron even floats around in a hot air balloon made of women's underwear. What more could you ask for in a movie? In any case, it probably just should have stayed as a novel from a financial point of view, considering it only made back $8 million of $46 million that was invested. Number 4. Battlefield Earth. When you're talking about the worst movies of all time to ever come out of Hollywood, typically Battlefield Earth will come to mind. For a long period of time, John Travolta wanted to be a part of a film that depicted Scientology in some form or another. It was a pet project of his, and he admitted that he wanted to star as the most badass 9-foot alien that you've ever seen. He signed himself as one of the co-producers of the film, which depicted aliens enslaving humans who are staging a rebellion after 1,000 years have gone by. The plot might sound somewhat cool, but there are many gaps in the plot line, and it was filmed from a Dutch angle, meaning slightly tilted for pretty much the entire thing. Millions were invested, possibly by Scientologists who had no idea what a big failure was about to be. It was far from breaking even close to even, with at least $73 million on the budget and only getting back $29.7 million. Number 3. Glitter. It's possible that timing was kind of bad for Glitter, considering that it was released only 10 days after September the 11th, 2001, on the 21st. People were a little bit more concerned with terrorism at that time than going to see the new Mariah Carey movie. But similar to the Twin Towers, the movie bombed, and it didn't make nearly as much money as was expected. Mariah Carey earned the award by the Golden Raspberries as the worst actress of the year, and some critics went as far as saying that her facial expression matches someone who just lost their keys. Sometimes people should just stick to music if that's what they're good at. Some will say that the soundtrack is underrated and deserves more respect, but still. It was an expensive mistake too for the producers, losing them $17 million at the box office. Number 2. Town and Country. There have been a lot of mistakes made by Hollywood throughout the time, but the only thing that could be a bigger mistake than paying for a ticket to go see 104 minutes of this film would be to spend your time producing it. A grand total of $80 million was lost on this film, which still seems difficult to believe. Some claim the actual amount that was lost was more like 95 to 100 million. Various problems occurred while filming, and refilming was necessary, which took out funding from their marketing campaign. More money was spent getting new writers while the film was being shot, which roughly cost them another $3 million. Goldie Hawn was nominated for the Worst Supporting Actress in the film, as well as the supporting actor Charlton Heston. Peter Chelsom took home the award for the Worst Director. In the comments section, we'd like to hear what you think is the worst movie of all time and what was wrong with it, and maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. And number 1, Gigli. It should have been obvious right away that the movie Gigli was doomed to failure as it starred Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. If that wasn't enough to keep you away, the awful plotline should have. Often criticized for being the worst movie in the history of all time, Ben Affleck played a role of a bottom-feeding mafia lowlife who was sent to kidnap a mentally challenged younger brother of a prosecutor as a bargaining tool to keep a mafia boss out of prison. Then Jennifer Lopez gets thrown into the mix in order to make sure the job is being done correctly. They know it's just a matter of business, but before you know it, they're sleeping together in the same bedroom, and bam! Many critics often criticize the horrible acting by the lead roles, especially Ben Affleck's tough guy accent. Jennifer Lopez's performance goes to show that just because you're pretty doesn't mean you can be an actress. The movie did awful in the box office, making only back $7.3 million of the $75.6 million that was spent. Now wasn't that a cool video, guys? We know you liked it. Be sure to subscribe to American Eye for more videos just like this. We'll see you there.